Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and we're on to the next postcard. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is a challenge to make 31 postcards in 31 days of July. It's July 2024, everything you need to know is in the description box below, and I'm using the hashtag Gely postcard play, which will link all of the different social medias and everybody who's actually doing the challenge. So the next one I've chosen is this one. Now, you've seen me make these. If you haven't seen me make them, then they're in the preparation videos below. And I thought, right, I just want to play around with these colours. And you may remember this was one of the pulls. Now, and when I made the tissue pull, I was actually planning to use the inside, but I think I like that over there because I know it's going to really show that through. And then we're going to work with a few other elements. So first things first, I need to get this done. I need to get it stuck down, and then once it's stuck down, it can be drying. I may need to actually use a hairdryer on this for the pure reason that I'm going to be doing tissue paper over tissue paper on this one. Now, I wanted to keep this one fairly simple because the work's already been done. That's beautiful, that's beautiful. The elements are going to put on it are beautiful. Now, I'm using Liquitex matte gel medium. Any gel medium will work. I would say try to avoid using a heavy bodied gel for this because you're going to find if you do that, then the tissue paper won't go completely transparent. The tissue paper will go transparent, but sometimes depending on the color you're putting it onto will dictate whether it goes 100% transparent or not. I mean, if I put it over black, which we'll probably be doing at some point, you'll find that it never quite goes transparent, although other lighter colors it will do. So I had a feeling, because this is maple leaves here, or acers. I wanted about there. Just smooth this out a little bit with my hand. Now I'm just going to work from the center out gently, trying to work out air bubbles. If there's any creases in this, it's fine. I'm not going to try and lift up gift wrap tissue, because if I do that, I can absolutely guarantee I will tear the gift wrap tissue. Not my intent and not a good idea. So as you can see, we're beginning to see the pattern coming through, and that's what I want. I wanted that interest in the background. I could have trimmed this down beforehand, but I know if I'd have trimmed the tissue down beforehand, I would never have got it directly in the right place. So at least this way I can trim it after it's dried. Now, even though it's stuck down, do be careful. This is quite a soft brush. I'm just working any air bubbles out, working from the center, making sure it's all stuck down. You've seen me do this before. You will probably see me do this quite a few times if you're going to watch all of the postcards being made, because that's the method I use for getting the tissue down. Right, let's leave that where it is. So I'm liking that. Let's see if I can pick it up for you without ruining it. So as you can see, the design is beginning to come through. It'll come through the more it gets moistened, because the fibers will get saturated with moisture. Right, I think this needs to go to one side just while I deal with the next bit. So I'll put it on a bit of a block here. Let's just sit on the block. I don't want to keep having to pick it up by its edges. Let's give this a bit of a clean as well. This isn't dirty, it's just stained from all the acrylic paint. I tend to use washcloths. I'll buy like 2 a year, and I'll use them for the entire year. And at the end of the year, I always put them in the laundry just to make sure they're kept relatively clean. Right, I did say that I really loved this, and because those are acers or maples, they always make me think of Japan and China or the Orient. So I'm going to use this script here because I just really like it. So I called this a water pen in one of my videos. It's not, it's a water brush. You fill up this reservoir here and then you can paint water. And it's probably one of the quickest ways to cut gift wrap tissue. It isn't going to work if you've got wet strength tissue, because obviously wet strength tissue is resistant to water. So once you put it on there, now you could have just torn it by hand, which is, I must be honest, which is what I normally do. But I'm very aware that maybe I'll have beginners watching some of these videos and they may not be as confident in tearing tissue as I am. And this is sort of a fail-safe way to do it. Right, save that off there. I think that little bit needs to come out of there. So we've got that. Let's put that to one side so I don't lose it. So that's going to be going on to this as well. I'm wondering whether I should put it on now. Let's see where we're at with this. I think I can get that on there. Right, I'm going to have to be really careful. I know I keep saying really careful, but I do need to be really careful because if I'm not, I'm going to tear this. Now, there is no right or wrong, up or down. Actually, I think I like it that way. No, actually I don't. I like it that way. Now, I've got an element I'm going to put down here. So I think about there would be a good idea. I'm going to put a reasonable amount of matte medium on there. I'm doing that because the paintbrush is likely to glide over the surface of the other tissue if there's a reasonably good coating of matte gel medium. Again, working my way down, pushing out any air bubbles, trying to remove any creases, but not panicking about them. Right, that's going to need to be dried. Right, put this to one side for a second. We will use that. Right, I'm going to pause the video. So just a couple of minutes, a couple of seconds with the hairdryer, and it's dry enough to work on, not fully dried. That doesn't bother me. Now I'm going to use this foam stamp of mine. It's one of the PM Artist Studio foam stamps I designed. I will say it's something like Silly Spheres or something like that. And I'm going to use VersaFine Claire on this because I want some movement within this. So I'm going to come in now. I don't want an absolutely perfect anything on here. I do want some design, but I don't necessarily want it to be an absolute dominant feature. I'm just trying to take the eye around the card. And as I've got this on here, I'm just going to pull in a spare bit of tissue and just blot it off on here because why waste it? I might use it in the future and it's a good way to clean up my stamp. We know I'm going to cut that out if I'm going to use it anyway, so just make sure your stamps are clean is what I'm trying to get to. There, that's enough. It looks like pretty all on its own. So, where are we up to? Right, let's put the lid back on the egg. So I've now got myself to a point where this is pretty much coming into itself. Now, obviously, it needs some sort of focal point. And the focal point I chose, because I was looking for things that matched the colours mainly, and I found this little stamp of mine that I made, and I do make my own stamps occasionally, and this just really tickled me. This little dog is a bartender, or I'm thinking of him as a landlord of a Chinese takeaway or a Chinese inn or pub or outhouse, and I really liked that. I thought that was a fun thing to do. Obviously, I need to add a number as well, so I'm just going to stick this down. I'm going to use the matte gel medium as I've got it already on my plate here. Try to get to the edges. There are videos where I make postcards or I give, not postcards, I make postage stamps, or I give an old postage stamp a new lease of life. So if you're looking for how I did them, there's definitely, oh, I've got ink on me. I forgot, this ink doesn't dry immediately. Right, now something else I need to put on here is actually the number. Now I found this little number in that free download from PM Artist Studio. And obviously I need a number 2, not a 28. So I'll take that off there. Put this one back in the envelope. Goodness knows it might become useful. And back it goes. Now I'm going to need to just tickle up the edges of this with a little bit of something to take the stark white edge off it. And then I'm going to use art glitter glue here because I'm gluing paper to paper, which would be easier for me to do. It's not very easy for me to hold, mind you, but I'm not in the mood to be dealing with a pair of tweezers today. And there's this little tiny spot here that's just crying out for the number. So by putting it there, it looks almost like it's the price of the stamp. Oh, don't move around. Right, that's that on there. Now I feel that needs something else. I need to think for a second what it would be. So I think I want to put a bit of metallic on here. And I've had a bit of a look through. And this is a stencil, I think it's called Fleur de Lis. Is it called Fleur de Lis? It's called Fleur de Lis by Rhonda Donhart. And if you look at the Fleur de Lis shape, it kind of mirrors that. So I think I'm going to come in and just put a little bit of that onto here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use copper because I'm thinking of using gold, but I think gold is just not going to cut it. Gold is pretty much too close to the colours on there. And I don't want a huge amount. I just want a hint. So I've got a makeup sponge. Just going to dab on, dab off. And I'm going to come in and put a little bit of this through the stencil. Again, not aiming for perfect. That's not where I'm at with this. I think I want this little bit down here as well. That's better. That warms that up, and I can still see all that through that, and I really like that. I know that I want to do a line of them down there as well. It's the only trouble, isn't it, when you start with something, you keep going, I'm like, is it right? Is it not? Does it matter? It's my art, and I'm having fun with it. And maybe a little bit across there. Okay, that's better. It's very red, but actually that's what I was looking for anyway. It has that oriental feel to it. Right, that needs a clean up. This needs a clean up. So I've reached for this. It's Clipping Sticker Book by Tim Holtz. And you can see I haven't used it very often, but I really like this. She was a strange little girl. She definitely was. I know instantly everyone's going to go, but he looks like a boy. You tell me the difference. I'll lift that off there. So I like using these things, they're cute. I'll just put a little bit of ink on this, just like get rid of that whiteness of that edge. And this is where I struggle because I've got to do this. Now, before I do this, is it the right place? Actually, I think I was going to put it out on the top. I was going to put it down the bottom. I needn't have put art glitter glue on this. It is a sticker. However, for me, I do. Right, let's see if I can get this straight. She was a strange little, it feels like it needs something there. Actually, I just sort of got this Tim Holtz stuff. I'd quite like a bigger number. That's what I'm contemplating. Let's just take that out of there. I'm looking at this agent number 1929. Now, this is probably not going to go transparent on me. So, not that this did 100%, but I know this is probably not going to go. So let's see if I can tear it with a ruler maybe. Save that, you never know when I'm going to need it. I don't mind if it's slightly torn. I think, yes, I think that's exactly what that needed. It's sort of, it just adds a bit of comedy to it. I mean, is that a pug? Nicole, you'll have to let me know if that's a pug. It might well be a pug. Nicole has a pug. And by the sounds of it, I think his name is Sherman, if I remember correctly. Sherman is a right character. Right, I'm glad I did that. I like that. So that's all to one side. Now I just want to come in and I want to edge this, and I want to edge it with something that's black. Is this black? There's usually a wedge, right? This has got a chisel point on it, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run this down the side of the card. Now, you may not think it makes a lot of difference, but it kind of does. Just sort of outlines it. Now, this has got a bit of a curl on it, and why is that? Because we're working with moisture on it. Once this is done and I put it under a book and I put a backing on it, it'll all be lovely. Right, I'm just going to stop here. I'm going to dry this. We'll be back when this is actually done. I completely forgot I need to do a few things, don't I? I need to sign it for a start. Is that dry enough to sign on? Probably. Sign it in the corner. And I want to come in and I want to just make sure this stands out a bit. So I'm going to give it a bit of a frame. As you will note, I like to frame things. I like to outline things. I'm just doing a rough double line. If I wanted it to be perfect, I'd use a ruler, but I'm not aiming for it to be perfect. That just brings that out. So, right, need to get on and dry this now because I haven't done that yet. So here we are, all nice and dry. I'm liking that. That's fun. And art should be fun. It should be enjoyable. And I don't mind making jokes and stuff with pieces of art. I think it's just fun. So loving that. I like the way the different layers worked. I would have liked this to have come through a little more vibrant. Maybe the gift wrap tissue I'm using is a bit thicker than the one I normally use. If you want to go almost invisible, I would say use a napkin back. You know, when you have a paper napkin, you can separate the plies or the layers. If you use one of those, it will definitely go completely transparent. The trouble is it's even more fragile than gift wrap. So hopefully you enjoyed that. I like that. That's number 2 done. Looking forward to getting that done. I'm looking forward actually to getting all of these backed, and then I'll sign them and then I'll date them, and then eventually they're going to go into my postcard collection album, and I'll obviously do a whole flip through at the end of the challenge so everyone can see everything. So hopefully you enjoyed that, guys. I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time, goodbye now.